Jerry Lewis talks about the gay star from old Hollywood that he dated behind her back. He was born in Newark, New Jersey on March 16, 1926, as Joseph Levitch. His family has a long history in show business. His dad, Daniel "Danny" Levitch, was in theater, and his mom, Rachel, worked at a radio station as a piano player. It made sense that young Jerry would want to be in the lead. He went on stage for the first time when he was 5 years old. By the time he was a teenager, he was already performing in nightclubs with a lip-sync act to famous songs. This was before the days of modern music videos and set the tone for his creative approach to comedy. In 1946, Jerry Lewis met Dean Martin, a young rock singer with a smooth voice. They worked together to make the comedy duo Martin and Lewis, which became one of the most popular and famous teams in show business history. Dean played the pleasant straight man, and Jerry played the crazy, unpredictable comedian. Together, they brought a new and exciting energy to radio, TV, movies, and plays. With their infectious chemistry, they became stars very fast. In the late 1940s and 1950s, they were in a string of hit movies, including My Friend Irma 1949, At War with the Army 1950, and Scared Stiff 1953. They were so popular that at one point they were paid more than any other entertainers in the world. But after 10 years together, the partnership ended quickly in 1956 because of creative differences and rising personal problems. Even though they broke up, both men went on to have very successful careers on their own. Jerry Lewis started an amazing solo career after he broke up with Dean Martin. He got a good job offer from Paramount Pictures and started making money by writing, directing, and acting in a string of comedies that made him known as a visionary. The Nutty Professor, 1963, a funny and touching retelling of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, was one of his most praised works. Lewis played both the awkward and nerdy Julius Kelp and his cool alter ego Buddy Love. The movie not only showed Lewis's range as a comedian, but also how he can combine sadness and humor, which is a trait of his best work. Lewis also changed the way movies are made. He came up with the video assist method, which let directors look over takes right after they were shot. This new idea became common in the movie business and is still used today. His style of directing, which included complex jokes, fast-paced action, and physical comedy, had a big impact on comics and directors like Woody Allen, Jim Carrey, and Martin Scorsese. In the United States, Jerry Lewis was a huge star, but in Europe, especially France, where he was admired as a comic genius, he was even more important. French film reviewers and scholars praised his technical skill, his ability to control tone and timing, and his strange sense of humor. In fact, France gave Lewis a lot of awards, including the Legion of Honor, which is the country's greatest honor. American reviewers often thought his later movies were silly or out of date, but French intellectuals saw him as an oar like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton. In addition to his work in entertainment, Jerry Lewis did a lot to help people. His name became linked to the Muscular Dystrophy Association, and for more than 40 years, he was the face of its yearly Labor Day big show. Lewis has been hosting the telethon every year since 1966. It has raised more than $5 billion for studies into muscular dystrophy while he was still alive. His commitment to the cause won him praise around the world and many humanitarian awards, including the Jean Hersholt Award from the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences in 2005 and 2009. There was some trouble with Lewis's connection with the MDA. He quit as host in 2011 because of some public disagreements, but his accomplishments are too great to be overstated. Millions of families who have loved ones with muscle diseases got more attention, money, and hope because of his dedication. In his later years, people started to appreciate Jerry Lewis again. He went back to acting in more dramatic parts, like in Martin Scorsese's dark satire, The King of Comedy, 1982, in which he starred with Robert Darrow. His quiet and introspective performance showed how versatile he is as an actor, and won him praise from critics. Lewis also won several awards for his lifetime of work, including ones from the American Comedy Awards, the Los Angeles Film Critics Association, and the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. A lot of late-night talk shows had him as a guest, and his sharp wit and stories reminded people of how smart he was. Jerry Lewis married Esther Grace Kalanico, better known as Patty Palmer, on October 3, 1944. He had been married before. Palmer was a great singer who had played with Ted Fiorito's orchestra. Fiorito was a famous big band leader during the swing era. Their marriage came at a very important time in Lewis's life. He was starting to form a comic duo with Dean Martin, which would make him a national star. Lewis, who was Jewish, and Palmer, who was a devoted Catholic, got married. At the time, especially in the mid-1940s, this was a pretty unusual and socially problematic type of marriage. The pair went ahead with their relationship, even though religious and cultural differences could have caused problems. They were together for more than 30 years. 6 boys were born to Jerry and Patty. 5 of them were their biological children. When they had their first child, Gary Lewis, in 1945, he became a pop singer in the 1960s. He led the successful band Gary Lewis and the Playboys, which had hits like This Diamond Ring. The other 4 boys were born into the family: Scott in 1956, Christopher in 1957, Anthony in 1959, and Joseph in 1964. Joseph Lewis tragically killed himself in 2009 when he was 45 years old after a long battle with drug abuse. In addition to their own children, Jerry and Patty adopted a boy in 1949. His name is Ronald. The Lewis family home was big and busy, which fit with the comic's public image as a kind family, friendly comedian. But as the years went by, reports of tense family ties stood in stark contrast to that picture of a happy family. Lewis is thought to have had a daughter with Lynn Dixon Kleinman, a former fashion model and showgirl, in 1952. The girl's name is Susan Minaret, but she goes by the name Susan Lewis. Lewis was still married to Palmer at the time. Susan has said for a long time that she is Jerry Lewis's real daughter. As an adult, she worked to get that claim recognized by the law and the people. A DNA test done in later years showed that Susan was most likely related to Gary Lewis, even though Lewis never publicly accepted her as his child. This made the case for her being Jerry Lewis's biological daughter even stronger. Susan allegedly went through hard times and was poor and homeless for many years. The public's attention on Lewis's refusal to recognize her or help her in any real way is growing. The world and Lewis's family knew about his extramarital affairs. During his marriage to Palmer, he sought relationships with other women in a public way. In later years, he talked about these affairs without feeling bad about it. In an interview with People magazine in 2011, Lewis admitted that he had slept with Marilyn Monroe, Marlene Dietrich, and other famous women from the golden age of Hollywood. His honest, no-fee tone about these affairs showed a lot about his personality and how he felt about fame, marriage, and power in Hollywood. But for Patty Palmer, these betrayals and the mental pain they caused were too much. After 35 years of marriage, she asked for a divorce in 1980, saying that Lewis was cheating on her all the time and spending too much money. The divorce was completed in 1983, ending one of the longest marriages between famous people at the time. After they got divorced, Lewis's ties with his kids were harmed for a long time. Jerry Lewis made the shocking and controversial choice to not give any of his 6 sons or their children, who are his grandkids, anything from his marriage to Palmer. This choice was made clear in his will, which gave his property to his second wife and their daughter. Many people thought that the absence was a sign of deep family problems. Gary, his oldest son, spoke out against his dad in interviews, calling him mean and bad. He said that Lewis was mentally distant, mean, and unloving toward his kids, and that they never felt loved or accepted by him. These comments showed a much more difficult and painful side of Lewis's life than his public image let on. After the end of his first marriage, Lewis fell in love with Sandra Sand Pitnick, a woman 25 years younger than him. At the University of North Carolina School of the Arts, Pitnick learned how to be a classically trained dancer. Later, she worked as a flight attendant and had a small dance part in Lewis's 1980 movie Hardly Working. That's how the two of them met. They got married in Key Biscayne, Florida on February 13, 1983. Their relationship grew quickly. Lewis's relationship with Pitnick was much more private and, according to most accounts, happy than his first marriage. Danielle Sarah Lewis, their adopted daughter, was born in 1992. Lewis was proud of and loved Danielle, and he often talked about how she made him happy in his later years. The couple was married for 34 years until Lewis's death in 2017. During his illness and last years, Pitnick was by his side the whole time. In spite of his huge fame and standing as a pioneering comedian, Jerry Lewis's legacy is deeply tangled with complicated family relationships, tense relationships with his father, and unresolved personal scandals. People loved him, laughed at him, and praised him in public. His private life, on the other hand, was often darker and more broken, with broken relationships, children who were never acknowledged, and mental scars that would last for a long time on those closest to him. Jerry Lewis, the famous comedian and director, once told someone that he was seeing a famous gay actress in old Hollywood. This was a shocking admission that added another layer to the already colorful tapestry of his life. Lewis was famous for his slapstick humor, his work with charities, and his creative genius in the movie business. But he would sometimes leave cryptic hints about his relationships outside of work. Many artists of that time had to keep their personal lives secret, and this confession came years after both stars were at the height of their fame. It was a rare look into those lives. Lewis says that they were together at a time when Hollywood's studio system had a tight grip on its stars' public images, enforcing morals clauses and planning every aspect of their personal and professional lives. In particular, being gay was frowned upon and often seen as a career-ending trait. Because of this, a lot of gay and lesbian artists had to get married in secret, called lavender marriages, or stay secret. In this situation, Jerry Lewis's secret relationship with a lesbian actress was not only risky for their jobs, but it was also very brave. During his lifetime, Lewis never said the actress's name aloud, but he did drop hints that have led to decades of guesswork. It was his opinion that she was more beautiful, smart, and brave than anyone had ever thought. He said that they had a relationship based on real love, a strong emotional bond, and mutual respect. Lewis agreed that she mostly liked women, but he argued that their relationship went beyond the limits of normal romance. She let me in not because she had to act with me, but because she trusted me. We were like-minded fakes in a town full of them, he once said. Insiders in the business and experts on old movies have come up with a few names that fit the description Lewis gave. There have been a lot of rumors about actors like Barbara Stanwyck, Marlene Dietrich, and Chilla Bankhead. Not only was each one famous for her skills and charm, but also for having complicated personal lives and reports of relationships with other women of the same gender. In private, Chilla was known to be open about being queer, and she is thought to have had affairs with both men and women. Dietrich was also brave in the way she dressed and dated, often going against the gender norms of the time. Lewis dated a bisexual actor during the height of Hollywood's popularity. This shows the man, who is mostly known for his crazy actions on screen, had a lot of emotional depth and sensitivity. Behind the pratfalls and over-the-top facial reactions was a man who could really feel what other people were feeling. Living two lives hurt him, even if it was only through other people. He sometimes hinted in comments at how annoying it was to love someone who could never really show herself to the world. She carried a load that would have broken most men, he once thought. Lewis said the affair was never about fame or even the thrill of the forbidden. It was a safe harbor for two people who found comfort in each other's company. He respected her identity and boundaries, and their relationship was more like a normal tabloid-fueled romance with quiet evenings of conversation, laughter, and sharing vulnerability. It was a secret but not a shameful one. If the world had been different, Lewis is said to have said, maybe we could have been something more. The actress's identity may never be known for sure, but Lewis's admission is a powerful reminder of the hidden emotions that shape the lives of Hollywood's most famous stars. It also shows that love can grow even when people are mean to each other or institutions don't say anything. The story of Jerry Lewis's secret relationship with a gay actress is more than just a juicy anecdote. It's a picture of how people can connect, trust, and be brave enough to be themselves in a world that isn't always true. Jerry Lewis was a famous comedian, actor, filmmaker, and humanitarian. He died peacefully at home in Las Vegas, Nevada, on August 20, 2017, at the age of 91. His death ended a long and often controversial career that spanned more than 7 decades and left an indelible mark on the entertainment and charity worlds. For many years, Lewis had a lot of health problems. The official causes of his death were end-stage cardiac disease and peripheral artery disease, according to the Clark County Coroner's Office. These are conditions that usually happen because of long-term heart problems and poor circulation, which is common in older people who have had years of physical stress and health problems. Starting in the early 1980s, Lewis had several heart attacks and several surgeries, including an open heart procedure in 1983. He also had diabetes, pulmonary fibrosis, chronic back pain, and a drug addiction that made his last years harder. Lewis wanted his body to be cremated after he died. It was a quiet, understated end to a man whose life had been so public and flashy. His death was met with tributes from other entertainers, fans, and groups he had supported throughout his career, such as the Muscular Dystrophy Association, for which he raised over $2 billion. His private farewell was still close and private, in line with how he had chosen to spend his last years, mostly out of the public eye. When it came to his estate, Jerry Lewis's last will and testament showed a decision that caused a lot of media attention and public debate. The man chose to leave his estate to Sandy Pitnick, his second wife of 34 years and a former Las Vegas dancer and actress whom he married in 1983. The couple adopted a daughter named Danielle Sarah Lewis in 1992, and Lewis also left her his estate. This showed how close he had become to his second family, which was very different from his tumultuous relationships with his first marriage's children. Significantly, Lewis's will specifically left out all 6 of his sons from his first marriage to singer Patty Palmer, whom he was married from 1944 until they split up in 1980 and eventually divorced in 1983. The couple had 6 sons together, including 1 adopted son. The decision to leave them out of his will, which legally stated that they would not receive any benefits in any way, shape, or form, caused a lot of speculation and controversy. Some saw it as the end of a long history of tense family relationships. Several of Lewis's sons had talked about the problems they had growing up, citing emotional distance and alleged mistreatment. In 2009, one of Lewis's sons, Joseph Lewis, tragically died of a drug overdose, which added to the idea that the family was broken. Some people say that Lewis's decision was probably influenced by personal problems and complicated family history that were never fully shared with the public. The loss of his inheritance served as a reminder that Jerry Lewis's private life was often full of conflict, contradictions, and unresolved pain. Even though he was known in public as a comedic genius and tireless fundraiser for disabled children, his legacy is secure in the pantheon of American entertainment, but it is also marked by the difficulties of fame, the fact that people can make mistakes, and the ongoing task of balancing public praise with personal truth.